money is on the minds of many households at the moment, especially with temperatures falling and the price of energy rising. But for the hundreds of thousands of families connected to a shared heating system, that is a worry that is even more intense.
That's because some have been left with crippling bills they simply cannot afford without the option to change their supplier.
It is an issue that we have spoken about before on Morning Live, so consumer champ Matt Albright went to revisit the residents who say the problem has left them at risk of eviction.
It's reckoned that 1 in 25 homes in the UK is currently connected to a heat network. They supply heating and hot water from a central source to a whole block or district through a network of pipes. It's supposed to be cheaper and more environmentally friendly than each property having its own boiler.
The problem is that heat networks usually buy their energy through commercial contracts, and unlike domestic supply, that's not covered by the government's energy price cap. As a result, when energy prices rise, the bills of those on heat networks can go off the scale.
What's more, residents are tied to a supplier and can't shop around for a better deal. It's an issue I investigated last year when I met Kirsty Oliveira, a social housing tenant on a heat network in Lambeth, South London. She'd seen her heating bills more than quadruple at the start of April 2023, which she couldn't afford to pay.
I couldn't believe it. I think I believed that they had made a mistake because it's such a ridiculous price rise.
And because heating is collected in the same payment as her rent, Lambeth Council deems Kirsty to be in rent arrears, even though it's the heating she can't afford to pay. This year, Kirsty got back in touch with us to say things had now reached boiling point.
Hey Kirsty, how are you? Good to see you.
So I've come to see her again at the community hall on her estate.
It's lovely to see you again, but it doesn't sound like things have got any better with your situation.
No, they have got worse. Now they're trying to evict people because of their rent arrears, which of course are heating arrears. Personally, they are trying to evict me. But many, many people are so terrified that they're not eating properly or they're getting into terrible debt.
Last time we met, Lambeth came back to us and said that they were setting up extended payment plans to help people get through these arrears.
Yes, so my heating and hot water went up to £80 something from about 1,500 in arrears. Their suggestion of an extended payment plan was, well, you must pay the £80 something every week, plus a little bit extra on the top. But I can't afford to pay the £80, so how am I going to afford to pay £5 on top? That makes no sense.
Kirsty's neighbour Ida Hale is also in arrears after the increase in her heat network costs.
Do you remember when you first got that bill with the increased charge for heating and hot water?
So we're looking at like £200 a month increase from what I was paying previously. I've never been in arrears before until this huge price hike.
What does it mean to you to be in arrears?
I was finding it really difficult to sleep, eat, especially when we started getting these threatening letters saying, we're looking to evict you. I was crying all the time. My son, you could see me so stressed and so emotional, which was affecting the schoolwork because every week it increased. It just spiralled and I thought I was going to go crazy.
Lambeth Council took Kirsty to court with the threat of eviction, but that's now on hold because Kirsty and Ida are launching their own challenge.
We are pursuing a legal action against Lambeth ourselves about the unfairness of the arrears. It's not acceptable to threaten people with losing their home because they can't afford to pay the energy cost. I see a lot of people that come into the hall that are struggling. We're trying to stop this happening, not just to us, but for the whole of the community as well.
While social housing tenants are the most likely to be connected to heat networks, many private leaseholders and renters are too. In these cases, the building's owner or freeholder can actually be the heat supplier as well. Paul moved into his home in 2016, and like the apartment owners, he was very happy with bills he was receiving for using the heat network.
So the original tariff was very cost-effective, and we were receiving bills on a monthly basis. Then, rather abruptly and with no explanation, billing stopped.
Despite numerous emails, Paul and the other residents went a year without hearing from their supplier. But one day that all suddenly changed when they finally received their next bill, and it wasn't what they were expecting.
So my bill at that point, it had gone from a tariff of being 4.5 pence to a tariff of somewhere in the order of 37 pence. What was even more upsetting was that they'd made it retrospective for the 12 months.
Paul's new bill was for £1,070.46, which included a charge for the energy he'd used for the previous year, but at the new higher rate. Remember, this was the period when his supplier went silent. Usually, residents can't be billed for energy that they used more than 12 months ago, but this back-billing rule doesn't apply to homes on a heat network.
There was no empathy, there was just a veiled threat of you need to pay it within 14 days. There would be people in this building were being forced into fuel poverty. There's one particular gentleman, he was expecting a bill something in the order of £168. It was nearer £2,500.
Through the persistence of Paul and the Tenants Association, the company eventually conceded that the tenants had been overcharged.
It transpired that they'd actually overcharged us. My bill went down to 120.
When we last covered this issue, we reported that change was on the horizon for heat network users in 2025, with new regulations due to come into force this year. I'm meeting Stephen Knight, Managing Director of the Heat Trust, to see if anything's changed.
Stephen, what help is there that's available now?
Well, two things have actually been put in place this year. The Citizens Advice Consumer Service, which is now a fully funded advice service for consumers. The other thing is that all heat network consumers can now go to the Energy Ombudsman for dispute resolution.
We know it's not just social tenants who are in heat networks, private leasehold tenants are as well. Are they going to get greater protection from this legislation?
A lot of the sort of sharp practices we've seen, things like retrospectively increasing the tariff rate, will be outlawed from January next year when Ofgem rules come in, and heat suppliers will have to start giving tenants and leaseholders at least a month's notice of any increase in the bill. And so I think consumers will start to see better practices.
Energy bill rises have been inescapable for many of us in recent years, but for heat network customers, they've been particularly hard, and many are saying they still can't pay their bills. Meanwhile, landlords should turn down the pressure and turn up the compassion so that nobody gets left out in the cold.
Now, on Kirsty and Ida's stories, Lambeth Council told us that it understands residents are struggling with bills and has offered support, including during European energy price spikes in 2022, but that it has a legal duty to ensure payments are made.
It went on to say that possession proceedings are a last resort, with no tenants evicted due to heating charge increases, and that it offers long-term payment plans and advice services for residents who are in arrears.
And it says that since the 2022 peak, bills have halved and the council bulk buys energy to get the best possible prices. On
Paul's story, the management company of his Croydon building did not wish to comment. I'm sure that is a story that we will revisit as winter goes on. Now,